Hello everybody, welcome. Oh, just gonna help. Hello everybody, welcome to Mr. Nightmare's videos again. Yeah, they did another one of these for some reason. Well, because if you saw the last one I did like a month ago, it's got like nearly 30 views. All the descriptions on, I don't care. So we're watching two today. We're watching the hotel stories and the Las Vegas stories. Well, the story because there's only one. So without further ado, oh god, I'm not ready for this now. We got a horror story. The story's written by Lauren Reid. What does anonymous mean? I don't know. Story 1.
This happened in the summer, and I believe I was about 12 at the time. I was staying in a hotel in a fairly large city with my mom and my younger brother. We were visiting other extended family, but chose not to stay in their house. My brother is younger than me by a decent amount, so I was usually told to keep an eye on him. On the day we arrived, my mom told me to do just that while she checked us in and received our room card. So, my brother and I sat down on a couch in the lobby and relaxed a little bit. While we were sitting, a man in about his mid-40s walked into the hotel. The couch was facing the hotel doors, so I got a good look at him. I remember that he was very average looking. Describing his features in detail could generate several different images. The guy comes in and sits on the couch opposite ours. I didn't think anything of it until I realized that he didn't go up to the counter first.
Why?
He just came in and sat down.
Who knows?
It made me feel a little uncomfortable. Maybe I was being a bit paranoid, but I thought he might have followed us in.
Dude,
thankfully, my mom called us over and told us that our room was ready.
You just wanted to sit down.
We left the lobby and went to our room.
I thought that's the case, but
shortly afterwards, we left the hotel to go meet family. I forgot about the man for the rest of the day. We returned at about 7, and my mom told us that we could go swimming in the hotel pool.
Holiday Inn.
We all went to our room, changed, and went to the pool. A few minutes after we got into the water, the same man from before walked in and sat down. He was wearing jeans and a sweater, so he definitely wasn't going swimming. Again, we didn't think much of it until I could see that my mom was visibly worried. She pointed him out to me, and she said that if he didn't leave within 5 minutes, we needed to go back to our rooms.
Yeah, but I'm recording this with my camera.
5 minutes passed, and he was still there, so we got our things and left.
And by the way, if you tap on Mr. Nightmare, my video,
close to 8 o'clock.
If you scroll down,
we had brought a rented movie to watch, so we planned to watch that and go straight to bed. I noticed that my mom was a little on edge because of the man who had been watching us.
I saw my video.
I got a little more worried myself, too. Halfway through the movie, my mom got up to get into the shower. While she was in there, someone knocked on the door and said, "Housekeeping."
Oh crap, that's not good.
I thought it was weird that the cleaning staff would come this late. But we needed another towel, so I answered the door.
It's gonna be the man. It's gonna be the dude. It's gonna be Scooty Doo.
I wish I hadn't been so stupid. It was the same creepy man. He gave me a smile and a little wave. I just stood there, kind of motionless.
Hi, dude.
My mind automatically went to the worst possible situation. Kidnapping, rape, torture, etc. I heard the water in the shower turn off.
Oh, no.
He stood there as well for a moment, and then he spoke. "How was your swim?"
Oh, damn.
At that moment, my mom came out of the shower, saw the man at the door, pulled me back, and slammed the door. She locked it. Then she called the front desk from our hotel phone to report the guy.
Damn.
I told her to just call the police, but she didn't listen.
Why?
She then requested we switch rooms. I then heard footsteps stomping down the hallway away from our room. Thankfully, the guy had left. After that, we switched hotel rooms and didn't see the guy again during our stay.
Wow. How long is this video anyway? 11 minutes, and then the Vegas ones. The Vegas one is not just one, but the Vegas one is just one story, but
it's staying in a hotel room, especially by yourself.
By 13 minutes.
Likely not, and I also doubt you've ever been in a hotel room by yourself. But when I was a kid, I always got scared sleeping in hotel rooms. I would always keep looking back at the dark corners of the room every 20 seconds, thinking there would be somebody standing there. My fear not only drove me crazy, it drove my parents crazy, as I would always insist that I would sleep between them until I was around 9 or 10 years old. Anyway, eventually I had to grow up. or at least give off the impression, and started sleeping in my own bed or sharing the bed with my sister. Now I'm 24 years old, living on my own, and have to take a lot of business-related trips for my job. On one particular out-of-town trip, I was staying at a Comfort Inn in North Carolina, with all the expenses paid by my job, of course. I was in the area for a meeting with an office in a different town, and the inn was my home for the night. It was across the street from some big car dealership. That's all I remember about the surroundings. Anyway, I was off the next day, so I could look forward to just relaxing in the hotel and watching a couple movies. I was ironically watching the first Saw movie.
Why?
And I swear, during the scene where Adam was hearing sounds in his apartment, my childhood paranoia started to come back for a bit.
Why?
As I thought I heard little crackling type noises coming from inside the closet.
Oh my god. Seriously, why?
Being 24, I told myself that I had to get over this nonsensical childish fear. I simply raised the volume on the
I'm
movie
fine
and
with
tried to
hotel
ignore it.
rooms.
At the same time,
Comment
I
down
popped
below
2
if
sleeping
you've
pills
actually
into
had,
my
like-
mouth so that I'd
Like,
be wiped
if
out
you've
by the
always
time
been
the
scared about
movie was
sleeping in
over.
hotel rooms, I've been fine.
Eventually,
I'm
I
fine.
flipped off the TV and rolled over onto my side to finally get some shut-eye. That was when the crackling noises became apparent again.
Oh, for God's sake, how the hell did they get in there? If it is, well, it has to be someone.
It wasn't constant or anything. It was just like once every minute or so I'd hear this crackling type noise that I just can't describe coming from the closet.
Oh.
It wasn't happening too frequently to really bother me, and the sleeping pills were knocking me out at that point, so I was out within like 10 minutes.
That's nice.
The next thing I remember, I woke to the sound of cloth being
You see my
rustled
reflection
around.
from the TV. Oh.
I sprang to an upright position, but it was literally too dark to even see within a few feet in front of me. After I flipped on the bedside light, there I saw somebody dressed in all black with a hood over his head,
Oh my
probably
God.
6'5", 250
Didn't see that
pounds,
coming.
rummaging through my bag.
How the
I
hell did that
screamed
scare
at the
me?
top
I've
of
seen
my
these
lungs,
stories
and in
before.
response, he fled the room. He had stolen my wallet
Seen
and my
this
watch,
before.
but he had also created a lasting memory that only digs deeper into a very large childhood fear of mine. I have never heard a story about anything like this on the news or anything, so for something like this to happen to a person like me, somebody who had such an odd, specific fear as a child, was simply catastrophic to me.
I didn't see that coming. I've seen these stories before though, that's the problem. I've been watching them recently. Oh, for God's sake, I had
When you're
birds.
about to beat your favorite game, what's it?
Screw off. Sorry about that, guys. I don't know why the adverts didn't come up in the last episode. I don't know why they're coming up now. It's the last one, and then the
When I was
biggest one,
17,
and
I
then
started to develop some beef with my dad, who's a huge hothead.
beef.
Tensions would grow worse through the years, and it got to the point that I would commonly have to leave for the night after getting into huge fights with my dad about
Just don't.
personal things that I won't talk about.
Yeah.
Sometimes
That's
I
a
would
good
stay
idea.
at a friend's house or check into a hotel. It was May 9th, 2015. I was 21 years old, and after another huge scene back at home with my dad, I had to get out of there for my own good. I checked into a nearby hotel, the Quality Inn and Suites. It was literally half a mile from my house. I'd be throwing away a little less than $100 for it, but I had nowhere else to go.
No.
It was early this time around.
Well, you could have gone to
Usually
your
these
friend's house
outbursts
like you
happen
said
around
like
nighttime.
earlier.
It was like 4 o'clock, so I decided to just hang out by the outdoor pool and clear my head. It was funny, I was the only one around in this hotel. The pool was empty, the hallways were empty, even the lobby was empty, except for, of course, the desk worker.
Yeah.
Then again, it was only May, and it wasn't like we lived in some huge vacation destination of a town. My room was in the middle of the hall on the 2nd floor. I had no idea why they'd given me that room, since it seemed like I was one of the only few people staying in the hotel. I hung out in my room
So at
after
the beginning
the
of that
pool for
noise,
a
it's just
bit.
me drinking
That's
my-
when there was a
my
very
Coke.
light tapping on the door.
Good up.
I waited for someone to yell housekeeping, but they never did. Therefore, I ignored it. And to my surprise, even though I had the do not disturb sign on the door handle, I heard the beep of the lock on the door, and then I heard the door slowly opening. I called out, no thank you, not right now. I couldn't see the employee at the door because there was a wall that blocked the view of the door from the bed. There was a pause, and I repeated myself, growing a bit curious. Suddenly, the door slammed shut. It actually startled me.
God!
I got up to actually go follow them and tell them that that was rude. When I stepped into the hall, I looked to my right. Nobody. I looked to my left, and at the end of the hall, I saw the right leg of a woman turning the left corner further down the hall before disappearing. How did she get there so fast, I wondered. I ran down to the end of the hall, and that's when I heard another door closing.
Oh God.
When I turned the corner,
I have a bad feeling about
nobody.
this story as well.
Just maybe 20 closed, unoccupied hotel doors. I was so confused and honestly a bit freaked
Heart
out.
attack, dun 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 dun.
I went down to the front desk to complain about the rude employee. The woman at the counter said that must be Rosa. She said she would question her about slamming the door later on. I thanked the woman and then went out to eat at the nearby TGI Fridays down the road.
I'm gonna have a heart attack.
When I got back to the room, I was on the phone talking to my mom, who said that I shouldn't come back because my dad was still super pissed. I entered my room and told her how depressed I was with all this fighting bullshit, and she understood. When I hung up, it was only 8 o'clock.
Oh.
I wanted the night to be over. I brushed my teeth, watched a little TV, and went to sleep at around 9 o'clock.
That's not really little TV.
I awoke to a noise.
Oh no.
At first, I didn't know what it was.
Dun, dun, dun.
I rubbed my eyes, sat up, and listened.
What the hell's that sirens? What the hell's that siren? Seriously, dude. Man! Oh, I'm gonna... Oh!
There was somebody standing at the left edge of my bed, towering over me. I screamed and felt like throwing up at the same time. It was a dreadful,
I've
horrifying
been out that
feeling.
woman from earlier.
The person then grabbed around my throat and started repeating the words, "You piece of shit." It was an older woman with a weak grip. I was able to
There's
escape
that woman from
easily.
earlier, obviously.
I ran to the door of the room. I heard her following me, but she stopped at the door when I ran down the halls to the front
Peace
desk.
out, dude!
The woman at the front desk admitted that one of the employees had lost one of her master keys that had access to all of the rooms in the hotel, something they were obligated to report to the head of the hotel. I was furious. Of course, I got a refund, gave some info to the cops, and then went home that night, where my dad actually showed something close to sympathy after I explained what happened. Ever since, I've actually never had to leave the house for the night, and I hope it stays that way. Oh yeah, and I have absolutely no idea whatever became of that crazy nutcase woman that tried to kill me.
Oh, she had a weak grip, didn't she? Okay, so the Vegas one, no? So this is only just one, but it's still... Yeah, that sign's probably true.
I was 23 years old when this happened. I'm 27 now, and there hasn't been a week that has gone by that I haven't thought about this trip. To celebrate our friend Andrew's 21st birthday, we were taking him on a trip to Vegas. He was always a laid-back and kind of shy dude, and we all knew that he hadn't yet done the deed. So we planned on getting him really drunk and to put it bluntly, get him laid. We checked into the Carriage House Hotel, which was one of the more affordable hotels that we could find. We had 2 separate rooms as there were 7 of us in total. There were 4 of us in the room that I was in. Andrew was in the room with us. The first thing we did was eat, of course, as we were all starving. We then hit the casinos just to say that we did it. Out of the 7 of us, only one of us left with more money than entering.
Who's that?
We checked out a bunch of different bars, and as the night went on, things got more blurry and everything got funnier. We got into a nightclub that was going wild. We caught 2 of our friends, John and Eddie, walking out with girls. They shot us the about to get lucky look, and we understood.
Obviously,
The rest of us were trying to pressure Andrew into approaching a girl. But even in his drunk and somewhat loosened up state, he was still too shy to approach anybody or even dance. We got to the point where we were desperate to find somebody for Andrew. We could already foresee that he wouldn't meet any girls at this rate the whole trip. We left the club in search for a working girl. You may think our actions were weird, but as most people were by that time, we were completely hammered.
And you're
We approached a girl walking alone, acting like a couple of retards, asked the girl if she would be interested in hanging out with our friend Andrew, who was very noticeably not quite as messed up as us, but still intoxicated nonetheless. The girl wasn't anything special. I could say that even in the state I was in. But we wanted Andrew to have a good time.
It's an effort again, isn't it? Oh my.
Elena, someone burned down your house.
I don't care.
That would do this.
I don't care. Oh, phew. Oh.
I don't quite remember what she said in direct response to me, but I remember her voice being slightly deep to the point that I looked at my friend.
I also have this slight memory of her analyzing Andrew from head to toe. Again, I don't remember what she said, but it led to her grabbing Andrew's arm and the two of them walking off down the sidewalk. We laughed as we could see how awkward Andrew already felt. None of us thought it was weird what just happened, though. But just out of curiosity, to see what was going to go down, we decided to trail behind them.
Dun, 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 dun.
They didn't seem to exchange any words. In fact, it appeared as if the girl was pulling him. We followed for about 15 minutes, I would guess. It could have been much longer, but I wouldn't really know.
Yeah, because you're
It was a
drunk.
darker and quieter street. The two of them stepped into what we assumed was an apartment building, and we all laughed.
Yeah.
But we were so proud and happy for him, too. There was no point in us waiting there, so we went back to the club.
That'd be just weird if you did.
At around
anyway.
2 in the morning, we headed back to the hotel. Andrew wasn't in either of the rooms.
2 in the morning.
I was starting to sober up a little, and a bit of concern began to arise in me. John and Eddie, who weren't with us earlier, were shocked to hear about what happened. We all kind of assumed Andrew was just spending the night with the girl. Still, it was out of character for Andrew doing anything like this.
That's your
so it was
fault.
just weird.
It was your fault for making him do
I
that.
texted him
isn't
and
it?
tried calling him. He never answered. But my friends told me to relax. I crashed minutes later.
That's your fault.
I woke to a ringing sound. At first, with my
It's
mind
a
still in
phone.
sleep mode, I assumed it to be an alarm clock
Why
and
would
tried
you
tapping
want an
at my
alarm?
phone to turn it off. As my head began to return to reality, I realized the phone was ringing. It was Andrew's number. I literally felt my heart drop for whatever reason.
Is that,
I told
no,
my
no, that's a
friends
good
who
thing,
were already
Matthew.
awake from the ringing. I answered, and was greeted to heavy breathing on the other end.
It was
was
isn't it?
Andrew.
Oh my god.
And he sounded as if he were having some kind of panic attack.
Chill. Cool, baby.
I
chill.
put him on speakerphone so everyone could hear.
Man.
Andrew began whispering into the phone. Most of it was incomprehensible, but we made out some of what he said. We heard him whisper, "It was that woman. Guys, you gotta get over here right now."
Oh, Mo.
We tried to engage him, but
Oh, no.
he wasn't answering anything we
Oh,
were
my
saying.
God.
The other end went silent. We were all basically screaming into the phone,
Why is he not
asking
answering?
if he was alright, where he was, what was going on.
Answer the phone.
I was already shaking in my skin at that point. But what happened next only made it 10 times worse. Something broke the silence on the other end. The sound of a door being opened with force, followed by the shrill and horrific screaming of Andrew. Before the sound of the call ended.
Oh.
We were all freaking the fuck out. I called the police and tried to remember the address, or at least the street. We were so messed up last night that I couldn't even remember the route that we took. One of my friends claimed he did, though. The police came over to the hotel, and they escorted us. My friend seemed to remember exactly where the building was. He guided the police past the club, down the side roads, and eventually to the building.
Oh, God.
2 officers from the front car went inside. We were to wait by the other car. A few minutes felt like hours, waiting in anticipation and in fear of the worst.
Please don't be dead, dude.
One of the officers stepped out. She came over to us and asked us to come inside to confirm if the dead body belonged to Andrew. I felt like the entire world just collapsed on my head as John and Jerry both started crying. They didn't want to go in, so I followed the officer into the building, which turned out wasn't an apartment at all. Rather some kind of dark, abandoned storage building.
Oh, God.
There was the dead body, leaning out from the open closet. The emotionless face, mouth lifelessly hung open, staring up at the ceiling. It was horrible, but it wasn't Andrew.
Who was it?
I knew it right away. The most noticeable feature, this boy had blonde hair, while Andrew had black hair.
Yeah.
The officers had already scoped the whole place out, so they didn't know what to do. I took a look in the closet that I had a feeling Andrew was hiding in.
It's not, is
Nothing.
it? Nope.
Not even his cell phone. We all did our best to forget about it, but a little more than a month later, I got a phone
Oh, so
call
that you-
during
so
the
this
middle of the
basically
night
after the
once
trip.
again. I picked up. There was a bad reception and nobody was saying anything. I was about to hang up when a faint yet familiar voice said, "Jesse?" "Andrew?" I yelled. The
That's
sound
it.
of a door slamming in the background on the other end was the last thing I heard before the call ended.
Oh my
He didn't
god.
pick up after the 5 times I tried ringing him.
Damn.
So what did I do? I called the police and had them trace the call. The call was not coming from Nevada at all. No, it was coming from New Jersey. In fact, our own town, in a house not too far away. They said they were sending somebody to the house, but that wasn't enough for me. I had to go there myself.
My.
I GPSed that address, hopped in my car,
So if you can see
and
what
floored
the
it the whole 5
reflection
minutes
of
it took
the
to reach
my
the
camera
address.
stand.
It was a vacant house
Is
on a
it
corner.
dark on the?
I
Obviously, it's
sneaked up
dark
to
on
the
the screen,
front door
so
and
it
put
wouldn't
my
be much
ear
over
against
here.
it to listen for anything inside. Nothing. I crawled around back where I found an open window. I listened for a moment. There were the sounds of small snaps and cracks from upstairs.
What?
The kinds of sounds you hear from somebody standing or moving on wood. I was sure that he was in there. I hopped inside, but I didn't even get to begin my search before noticing something at the edge of the hallway. Somebody was standing there, facing me, but I couldn't see their face. All I could see were their pale, exposed legs and long black hair down past their shoulders. It was a woman. I was feeling sick to my stomach, anticipating her
was it the
charging
woman
up
that
to me
dragged
like in
into
some
that
kind of
place,
horror
or-
movie. But instead,
At the beginning of the
she
story,
turned and
when
ran in
that
the
woman dragged
opposite
Andrew to that
direction.
place, was that
I heard
the
the sound
same
of the
one,
door
or
slamming
was it a
shut,
different one? I
followed
don't
by
know.
footsteps stomping downstairs, and then yelling of a man and woman. There was an even heavier pair of footsteps now stomping up the
That's the
stairs.
man,
That
big
was
men
my
and
cue
big
to
feet.
run. I left the house and dove into the bush.
Peace out, my
Not
bro.
even 5 seconds later, someone stepped out onto the porch, and for the first time in months, it seemed as if luck was finally on my side as a police car pulled up to the curb, flashing its siren. I heard the guy in the stoop mutter, "Shit," before slamming the door behind himself.
I'm sick, man.
The police followed inside. Apparently the idiot didn't even lock the door.
Idiot.
I stayed hidden, as I didn't want to startle the cops and end up with a bullet in my skull.
You won't get bullet
I
in your
waited
skull.
by the car out front, and minutes later, one of the officers came outside with the guy in cuffs. I introduced myself and warned that there was also a woman in there, but they never found the woman.
Oh, great.
In fact, one of the bedroom windows were completely open, which implied that she escaped. Andrew was found upstairs, locked in
there
a
he
closet. He was in horrible shape, malnourished, hair long and dirty. You could smell him from a mile away. The police ran the records for the man. He was never married, so they really had no way of finding out who the woman was. He even claimed that he had only known her for a day. Nothing made sense, and it still doesn't. Andrew admitted that he was raped, beaten,
Oh
and hardly
my god.
fed.
Oh my god.
I can't even imagine admitting something like that to someone.
Poor Andrew.
The girl that originally escorted him to that building
I bet that's
was only
Scarlet for
there to
life.
collect payment from what he described as the operators. For some reason, they forced Andrew to give them his hometown and addresses of everyone that was with him that night, which explained why they were in our town, but not actually why they were in our town. Like, what their intentions were. To kill us? To add us to whatever kind of sex slave operation they were running? I'm the only person he's told out of our group of friends, and whenever somebody asked about it, I just said I don't know what happened. Things were finally starting to look up, when a few days later, I got a text message from a random number one late night, saying, "Fuck you."
That's
Whoever
nice.
it was blocked me, as I couldn't respond.
What's the point in
So I just blocked
texting
them
them
back.
if you...
It happened again the next week, and then the next month.
How the hell?
Sure, I had the idea that it had something to do with the incident, but I had no idea it would be taken as far as it was. I woke up one night with a hint of brightness in my room. There was light from outside, in the backyard, shining ever so slightly through the closed blinds. It wasn't sunlight. It was the backyard porch light. I could see a shadow moving in front of the blinds. Somebody was definitely out there. I couldn't really see out of the crack at the bottom of the blind,
Don't you dare.
so I inched it up ever so slightly.
I bet it's that woman, isn't it?
There was somebody standing by the window, looking right at me, as if they were waiting for me. But they were gone before I could even think about grabbing my phone to get a
It's that
picture of
woman,
them.
isn't it?
I strongly believe it was that woman I saw in the house. That was the last time I saw or heard from anyone involved in this shit. Nothing of this whole situation has made a single ounce of sense, even with the best explanation Andrew could give me. I don't see a point in getting into how Andrew and everyone else is doing, as it's nothing interesting. The only thing I can say is I'm waiting for the next time I see any of these animals, and I'll be ready to call the police or take them on myself.
Oh, so if you want to talk to the person that has, it's Jesse Fargo, that thing, gmail.com. If you want to, like, talk to him about what happened, like, what about the incident, you can do that. Okay, I want to turn the TV off now, because that's it. So yeah, let me just turn the camera around, see, is it looking at me? There you go. So yeah, hope you have enjoyed this episode of Mr. Nightmare. I don't know when I'll be doing the next one. I don't think it'll be a month though. I'm sorry about the language in this, to be honest. I did not expect for it to be like, you know, like that much language. I'm hungry into the so before I hit the 30-minute mark, hope you have enjoyed this video. I know it was a little bit different, and it was obviously I watched more stories than I did in the last one. I was going to do Walmart stories, but they were a bit too long. They were basically like longer than these two stories. Well, the first one anyway. So I'll do one story in the next episode, which is that one. So yeah, I hope you have enjoyed. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Goodbye.